Trails West by Heather, Annie, Jenna, and Nathan. Dust flies upward as a covered wagon rattles down the beaten path, its wheels almost touching the lush prairie grass that bordered it. Its engine, a sleek painted horse, leaned its shoulders into the heavy load, the lanky limbs lathered in sweat. The man who sat in the driver's seat thrashed his reins, urging his horse onward. His family was nestled inside their covered wagon, trying their utmost to remain cool despite the summer heat. Picture this, and you probably have an accurate image of the life of a pioneer moving west. It's not all the movies make it out to be. Life was a daily struggle to even survive. The pioneers faced disease, Indian attacks, dust storms, starvation, lack of water, wagon tippings, and river crossings. And the list goes on and on. Pioneer women had to cook, wash clothes, watch kids, and generally take care of their families, even with the miles of added walking each day. One example of a group who faced many hardships was the Donner Party, so named because it was prominently made of the two Donner families. Many of these people were from Illinois or Iowa, but the wagon train was bound for California. By the time they had reached the Rocky Mountains, supplies and morale were running low. The wagon train's leader decided to attempt a shortcut. He led a small splinter group off from the California Trail onto a tiny side trail, which he had read in the guidebooks would shave a bit off their time. Little did he know, it was actually longer than the main route. In October 1846, they decided to pause and rest for a little while. The horses were tired, and they thought that if they regained their strength, they'd make better time. But as the luck of a pioneer tends to go, a sudden early blizzard stopped the train cold. The limited food dwindled away, and many died in the intense freezing cold. It was reported that the remaining members were driven to cannibalism, but it has never been confirmed. Only about half the original members ended up making it to California. But despite all of this, the insatiable need to move west continued. The pioneers wanted land. Some wanted religious freedom. Some wanted riches. That wasn't going to change anytime soon.
One particular group that was moving west were called the Mormons, who searched for the freedom to practice what faith they pleased. They were members of the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints, founded by a man called Joseph Smith in 1930. Many people hated them wherever they went due to their faith, especially the acceptance of polygamy, or the allowance of more than one wife. So they packed their bags and headed west. They also followed mostly the Oregon Trail, but eventually they broke off and settled by the Great Salt Lake in Utah. Despite the hardship of living there, the group decided to stay in perfect solitude. The settlements grew so much that, in fact, they were a total of 500 of them by 1877. The Oregon Trail was the main road people followed going west, but of course there were others. Another popular trail was called the Santa Fe Trail. This route, surprisingly, wasn't originally made for settlement, but for trade. The route began in Independence, Missouri, and ended in New Mexico. Beforehand, New Mexico was part of Spain. Therefore, the United States didn't trade with that area. But once Mexico won its independence, business grew rapidly. In 1860, around 3.5 million wagons used the trail, compared to 15,000 in 1822. The building of the railroad halted trade in 1880, but the trail still had brought many different foods, cultures, and crops to the United States. Another popular trail was that followed the California Trail. It began in Missouri and ended in California. Go figure. Mountain men explored the West in hopes of finding valuable furs. The place was absolutely crawling with beavers, and their fur was very expensive and coveted at the time. So they decided to set up shop. Pretty soon, their trading posts turned into supply shops for settlers along the way. Many of these people left personal journals, which are still enjoyed by people today. As you can probably see, movement west was very important in our country's history. Without it, we wouldn't have many of the crops or land that we have now. People believe that it was their manifest destiny or obvious fate to force their way westward. And for better or for worse, it helped shape American culture today.